What's up, gamers, players, casuals, and everything in between? This week, we welcome you to episode 10 of the weekly patch notes. I'm your host, Kid Kojo. With me, as always, are my co-hosts, starting with Thamziri, a YouTuber and content creator. Find him on his YouTube channel at Thamziri, and also for his personal gaming content. Hey, fam, what's good?
Good Friday, all.
And second is Max, a millennial gamer with takes that you have to hear to believe, ranging from the saints to the ridiculous. What's up, Max?
Hey man, how's it going?
I'm chilling. As always, our social media handles and links are in the description, so don't worry about missing out on any info. Alongside those are the links to any article or information with relevancy. With all that said, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow X to skip. And any and all support is welcome. Now let's get into some gaming tidbits. First off, any admin announcements to take care of?
Diablo 4 open beta on the 17th of March until the 23rd. If you don't have it, if you haven't pre-ordered, shame, but go watch other people streaming that shit. Like, that game is so lit. But yeah, thank you.
I'm actually watching Asmongold played now. Anything else?
All good.
I think that should be it.
Alright then, let's get started with the gaming news. Maxwell, what's happening?
Alright, to start us off, I just want to talk about Microsoft and that ongoing Activision Blizzard acquisition. So, I think some of you have seen, if not, Microsoft has signed a 10-year deal with Boosteroid to bring Microsoft games and Call of Duty to cloud gaming services. Microsoft also signed another 10-year deal with Ubisoft to bring games to cloud gaming service. Alongside the 10-year Nintendo deal, clearly Microsoft is on a charm offensive of making deals left and right, and personally, I think it will work well for them. The only question, though, is once Microsoft has Activision and the initial 10-year elapses, what will the deals look like going forward? That's what I'm wondering when it comes to all of these 10-year deals. Because I think it's very smart of them to proactively make deals with people, because one, they're being on the front foot, and two, it's kind of giving these controlling boards, I keep forgetting the correct terminology for them, but you know, your UK, your Europe, your American board, that hey, that all of these companies Microsoft is making individual deals with, so surely this should be a good deal. And I think it will soften them up in the long run. But we'll only see, and of course I go back to what are these deals going to look like after the 10-year has elapsed and then they need to make a new deal? Is Microsoft going to be in a position of power, or is it going to be a harmonious type of thing, or what? But anyway, time will tell. Then up next, we've got indie developer Archangel Studios got caught up in some controversy this week as players accused them of stealing from software assets in their indie Souls-like game, Bleak Faith Forsaken. Initially, the studio defended itself, saying that it had legitimately bought the assets from the Unreal Engine marketplace. However, as complaints increased, the studio reported the matter to Epic Games, who then removed the assets from the marketplace, but did not inform Archangel Studios why they removed the assets. And as of the recording, Epic Games still has not given a reason why. Because basically people are theorizing that if those things were not stolen and they were proper assets, Epic Games should have had no reason to take them down. But the fact that they have taken them down means that there was something wrong with them, because people are accusing Archangel Studios, but then they were like, hey, we haven't done anything wrong. We just bought these legitimately on the marketplace and we used them. We didn't know anything was going on, but now you brought this to our attention. We're reporting it. So, as such, Archangel has also removed the assets from their game and all of that, as you would expect. And all in all, I personally don't think there was anything malicious from the devs, and I think the onus falls on Epic Games to vet the legitimacy and ownership rights of items being sold on their marketplace. So for me, it's all on Epic Games. The devs, they should be going scot-free. People raised an issue, they replied, they saw it wasn't going away, they looked further, and they handled it. So I think they should be given some kudos. And then lastly, I don't know if you all have heard, but the developers of Rust wanted to hold a meet and greet for fans and devs coming closer to GDC. However, that meet and greet has been cancelled because they were getting death threats sent to them. And the theory is that, you know, why would anybody send death threats? But it's kind of like, you know, disgruntled gamers or cheaters who have been banned from the game and stuff like that. They could easily be the type who are sending these death threats. And I personally think it's a shame. And in the gaming community, like, why are people like that? Like, what does it do for you sending people death threats? Like, I understand being disgruntled and angry, and I'm all for talking shit towards devs, like complain to devs, whether it's Naughty Dog or whoever, because these devs are going to be like, no, we don't like this and stuff like that. Me personally, I'm for it. Cuss them out. However, don't threaten them or their family or anything like that. Like, why do you need to do that? It is such insult behavior, if you ask me.
It's because, bro, it's because that's the nerd way of rap beef, you know, like Biggie and Tupac levels, you know, instead of like going in the streets, you know, and actually popping the glizzy on some peeps, you know, like the best you can do is just throw words. That's why,
bro.
But yeah,
that's why I'm like, if you're checking words and stuff like that, I'm like, I'm all for that stuff, like name calling devs or calling them out on their BS or different things like that, because at the end of the day, either A, you're bringing up legitimate concern, or B, you're just throwing out words. You know, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. However, now when you are threatening somebody's livelihood or their loved ones or close to that, that's for me where I draw the line, where it's like, nah, it's unacceptable. So, you know, that's why I call it insult behavior, but whatever. And
yeah,
that's it for the gaming news on my side.
All right. Thanks for that. Tommy, any gaming news on your side?
No, still no news about Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 4. So I think it was a hoax.
You're not going to hear anything from that game for a while.
You won't. Absolutely not. It's like Kojo. It's like how Kojo has been complaining about how he's irritated with developers where they announce things so early that they have nothing to show for it except maybe a title. And I agree with Kojo that that's become the norm now. So with Tenkaichi, you're not going to hear Jackal. Like, who are the developers of Hitman?
IO Interactive.
Yeah.
They're only now, after they announced that James Bond game, they're only now saying, okay, guys, we are freezing the Hitman series and changing our focus to James Bond. Like, duh. Yeah, so you're not going to hear anything.
I'd bet. Yeah, that's all for me then.
Okay, I have something. I don't know where to put it, so I'll just put it on the gaming news. So video game developer Splash Damage, who are known for games like Brink, which came out in 2011, which didn't really do well, and Dirty Bomb, which came out and also was middling, are making an open world survival game currently titled Project Astrid. But what's so special about this game is that they're making it in partnership with two famous content creators, Sacriel and Shroud. Now, I've never really heard of Sacriel before, but Shroud, on the other hand, I think, Tommy, you know Shroud.
Who doesn't, bro? Yeah.
Maxwell doesn't know Shroud.
Oh, God.
Hey, I know his name. I don't know who he is. I don't know what he does, but I know the name. I think that's good enough.
We love you still.
Yeah. But anyway, so when I heard Shroud was involved, that piqued my interest. I'm like, Shroud? Damn, okay. Now you've caught my interest. So basically, this is what Shroud said about being involved in the game. He said, and I quote, "This project means everything to me. Chris and I have refined a vision for what's next in the survival genre, and with Splash Damage, we're setting out to build it. We want to build the best survival game ever, and with Sacriel's brain and Splash Damage's team, I know we can do it." And Sacriel, or Chris, which is his real name, said, and I quote, "This is a dream come true. Mike being Shroud, Mike and I have been envisioning a world where we help build the game that streamers and gamers love playing. To be able to execute with a team as esteemed and experienced as Splash Damage is a privilege. In our work together to date, it is clear to us that we are truly part of a team and that we're all well positioned to help bring this dream together." Now, creative director on Project Astrid, Lance Winter, said, "Sacriel and Shroud are core members of our development team. They bring with them a unique and fresh perspective. Not only that, but they're providing us brand new insights into what fans and creators actually want from their gaming experiences. No one knows the genre better than they do." And you know what? I don't doubt that. Shroud has been playing games. Everybody knows Shroud. I mean, if there's anybody or any people who are going to provide insight into what makes a game great, it's these two. I just hope that this game doesn't fizzle out when it comes out or doesn't fail, because Splash Damage's independent projects are, they're varying degrees of success. They're currently working on the new Transformers game that was announced at the Game Awards 2022 called Transformers Reactivate. So this new project, Project Astrid, you're not going to hear anything from for a long time, or you're not going to see anything for a long time. But I just thought it was interesting. It was, it was making the rounds on social media. People were congratulating Shroud and Sacriel, like, "Oh, congratulations. Hope this game turns out great," and blah, blah, blah. And I hope it does. I whenever streamers attach their names to something outside of their streaming world or whatever, whenever they're like, "Oh, I'm making a game," or "I'm working on this," or "I'm working on this," I hope the project always goes well. So yeah.
Have any of y'all heard anything more about Dr. Disrespect's game or Donkey and his wife's indie company?
Donkey's Big Mode, no, but in the Dr. Disrespect's game, it's surrounded NFTs, and so when that came out, people were not happy with that news, and he doubled down on it.
Oh yes, so that was the whole news about him, like some tweets about him calling names to people, saying people who don't believe in NFTs or something like that are brain dead or something
along those lines. Yeah, so that one is interesting. We'll see how that game happens. That one I'm more skeptical about than this Project Astrid. So
I was skeptical from jump when he said he's making an FPS game, because I'm just like, nah, of all the games you could go for, FPS are very, very specialized type of genre. It's like somebody saying, "You know what, we're gonna start making a sports game." It's like you don't just wake up one day and say, "I'm gonna make this type of game." It's sort of like you need to be making other types of game and progressively ease into that type of game, because you've got the background and the backdrop that you can now go into that. So when I heard it was an FPS, I was just like, nah, it's not gonna go far.
Yeah,
I've heard nothing from either.
Yeah, tell me, you said, sorry?
No, I've heard nothing from either one.
Yeah, as for Donkey's one, I've also heard nothing, but I'm assuming it's going alright.
Yeah, that's the one where I have more hopes for, because that's more so like, that's more so publishing, right? Not developing.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, that's it for my side of gaming news. No more gaming news from anybody's side?
Nah, I'm good.
Moving on to the gaming corner. Starting with the releases for this week. We have a game called The Legend of Heroes Trails to Azure for PlayStation 4, Switch, PC, released on March 14, 2023. Currently sitting at an 86 on Metacritic. We have a game called The Wreck for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC, released on March 14, 2023. We have a game called Wilson Lords of Mayhem, released on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, released on March 15, 2023. We have Anno 1800, making its console released on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series, released on March 16th, 2023. We have the Dark Pictures Switchback VR, released on PlayStation VR 2 on March 16th, 2023. We have Bayonetta Origins Sarita and the Lost Demon, released on the Switch on March 17, 2023, currently sitting at an 80 on Metacritic. And finally, we have WWE 2K23, released on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC, released on March 17, 2023. And that game is currently sitting at an 83, I believe, last I checked, on Metacritic. And I don't really have anything else specific game to focus on this week on the gaming news corner. Any gaming corner related stuff from anybody?
Not really gaming corner-esque, but as I had tweeted, anyone who flexes the PSVR 2 that you have it and these horror games are so flipping amazing, so realistic, you're blocked from me until I have it myself. Thank you. That is all.
Yeah, and I just want to say that the Resident Evil remake came out, and I think it's sitting, last I checked was at a 94 on Metacritic, where it's just like, damn, that's higher than I was expecting it to be.
The reviews have come out, yeah, but the game is still coming out in a week's time.
Okay. Yeah, so it looks like the code now is just remakes, because Dead Space also did very well for itself. So it's like, screw new IPs, just bring back old and beloved IPs and make people rethink about their childhood or whenever they played the game and how amazing the game was, and that it's still amazing today.
Yeah, it seems like you're right. That is the way forward. But yeah, anything else?
That's
No.
it.
All right. Well, guys, we hope you're enjoying the show. A quick reminder to like, subscribe, and follow so we can get the show to more people. I'm your host, Kojo, and with me are Max and Tommy. Let's keep the show going. Next up, we have the Twitch and YouTuber news. Tommy, I know you've got some good stuff for us, so let us hit us up.
It is pretty sad. So for those of you who don't know, I'm not really a fan of alcohol all too much. Anyways, but let's get into it. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, the Streamer Awards took place last weekend during the I know for some of you guys, depending on when you're listening, last weekend would have been the 10th of March. Okay, so from the 10th of March, we had the Streamer Awards that took place, and of course, this was mostly about the Twitch streamers as well as some YouTube streamers as well, right? So a lot of fancy names were being held, everything, and it was run by Cutie Cinderella, right? And this was just basically to celebrate the very best that live streaming has to offer. Cool. So unfortunately, while the awards themselves were a success, despite some cancellations of people who couldn't make it, and we saw that whole drama about Moist Critical not getting nominated, and then people, his fans would go to the Streamer Awards and actually dress up as Moist Critical, demanding justice for not, for him not being nominated, because he didn't attend. He just sat and watched the live stream, but he saw his fans doing this on live stream, and yeah, that was just funny. But anyways, there was an after party that took place. And in that after party, first of all, the Stream Awards themselves, right? Cutie Cinderella, who is Ludwig's girlfriend, another famous streamer, she was, like I mentioned, she hosted the whole entire thing, right? Her and JustaMinx, who is another very famous streamer on Twitch, they've been friends for quite a while, right? But there was some drama about her last year, whereby JustaMinx, who is very much known for having a drinking problem, she even got banned off Twitch indefinitely, like permanently, for drinking on stream to such an extent that Twitch deemed it as self-harm. The video is still on the internet, you can go check it out. the very last stream where she drank quite a lot. It was like a whole bottle of Hennessy. She drank the entire thing in one stream, and yeah.
Wait, is she drinking
Straight, bro. There's been others where she like challenges herself to down a whole bottle of vodka. Like she just has a
It
very,
sounds like a
very
vibe.
powerful. Yes, like dude. And obviously, like people make a joke saying she's Irish, you know, she can take it. Nah, dude, but like, you know, there's limits. So, anyways, PT Cinderella told her literally, look, if you're gonna come to the streamer awards, you can sit amongst us on the ground, like, you know, on the front floor, on the ground floor, closer to the stage, because she said she could only get tickets to sit in the box, like up top. But Cutie Cinderella's like, look, you can sit with the rest of us, but no drinking. So she, you know, adhered to that and said she wouldn't drink. But then comes the after party. So at the after party, it was then JustaMinx who started to cause trouble at the venue because she started drinking, to a point where ambulance turned up, noise complaints were being made, and a whole lot of other stuff was just going down, right? So essentially what happened was, do you guys know when you go to like restaurants and they've got those like very big gas heaters that are like very tall with like little roof type thing on top, right? She started throwing those into like the pool. She would start like trying to push other streamers into the pool, one of which could not even swim. She would pretty much just cause a whole lot of trouble and start like dive bombing onto people, like where she would just run up to people and just like dive. And yeah.
How old is she?
Dude, flip. I think she's in her 20s. I think she's like 27. Wait, how old is JustaMinx?
Because like I'm hearing
26.
You know, uni student behavior. So I'm just like,
yeah.
Depending on her age, she might outgrow it. But if she's older than I'm expecting, that's problematic.
Yeah. So essentially, eventually, she got told to be removed from the party, like by security, right? So they went to remove her, but instead of like calling an Uber and leaving, she then refused and then decided to pretty much like fake a limp, and even like, you know, when they tried to pick her up and force out, she would force dead weight, you know, on herself, trying to refuse to leave the party. Eventually, the entire party, because police started arriving, and of course she was throwing gas heaters into the pool, so the fire department was there as well. Ambulance was there because when she was trying to do dead weights, when she was trying to like force dead weights upon the security guards to not be removed, she eventually hit her head and she was completely blacked out, passed out. So ambulance also arrived. This led to the entire party getting shut down by the police, and Cutie Cinderella then reported that the damages that she had done solely, as well as the calling of, you know, police and all that, cost her $50,000. Okay. So obviously some streamers came in to defend, you know, JustaMinx, saying, look, drinking and any type of other addiction is a problem. We know this and everything, you know, we should like not really victimize her here, you know, and all this. We know how serious some addictions can be. But Cutie Cinderella was just like, no, screw this shit. We've been friends for so long that you know, you can only really support someone to such a limit until your entire boundary is completely crossed. And there's a whole entire interview that Cutie Cinderella does on Hassan Abi's show, which you guys can go watch. It will be linked in the description of the video and the podcast. But it's just, you know, she said that this is not the first time that there have been incidents like these. And the thing is, on YouTube, you can just go fucking type in on YouTube saying JustaMinx drinking compilation. Just go see the parties that she attends, the things that she does. There's even a stream whereby she got drunk, asks her roommate to slap her face for every donation or subscription she gets on the stream. Like, it's just, you know, there are certain ways to which alcohol and, you know, alcoholism and addiction really gets to a certain point. So people try to help, but they don't actually help, right? So it's not to say that, you know, to throw people under the bus, you know. Obviously me myself, I don't really know what happened because I'm not an actual NA streamer. I don't watch a lot of like JustaMinx's stuff, you know, but I just like the spice, the general spice of it all. But like the way, you know, people will be like, yo, no, stop drinking, you know, just put the bottle down. Guys, that's not enough. That's not enough. People who say that don't actually know how addiction works. Like, sometimes it really just isn't enough. I don't want to say, you know, that I know someone in our friendship group, in my friendship group, who has a drinking problem, but it's to say that like the person has done certain things to whereby like they've literally led me to not like alcohol or, you know, people who are being drunk. Hell, guys, all three of us in this chat, in this podcast, we come from a res, you know, that is just, I feel like I'm outing the res, but I mean, shit, bro, we've seen some crazy things during our time in varsity. To a point where it's just like, I'm not. I'm not. But like, you know what I'm saying? It's to a point where like I grew to hate the effects that alcohol has on people. And no matter where I go, you know, like, cool, have a drink, it's cool, moderation and all that type of shit, sharp. But if it gets to such a certain point where you literally making life worse for people, you know, $50,000, guys, that's just sus. That's $500,000 here in South Africa, bro.
You see now, the issue there is, you're saying if you drink it to a point, you're making other problems for other people, but then that requires a level of self-awareness where most people with an addiction don't necessarily have. Because you're more inclined to think about yourself and your needs before you're worrying about other people's needs. Because I don't want, like you've been saying, I don't want to belittle what comes with addiction. But then I feel like if you're able to recognize or acknowledge that you have a problem, like if you don't want to accept you have a problem, that's a whole different ballgame. But then if you're able to recognize or acknowledge that you have some type of problem, there are certain avenues and steps you need to try and attempt to take, whether that's A, moderation. If you see that does not work for you, then maybe try another step of B, absolutely don't touch the thing, or C, seek help, or D, maybe find a different vice. Like I know a person where when he drinks, he gets violent. And I just look at that where he's tried to do moderation, but it doesn't work because the minute he gets that taste in his mouth, he's in a good place and he just overdoes it. So I'm just like, all right, dude, either A, you can't touch this anymore, or B, you need to find yourself a different vice. If you're not going to seek help, find a different vice. It's like, you know, how a lot of people say the ganja, how many negative things do you hear from people smoking? You rarely hear negative things because you more or less keep in your own zone. There was also somebody, I think it was Joe Rogan or somebody who was making a joke. I forgot which comedian it was, but they were making a joke of people were complaining that, oh, you smoke in front of your kids and stuff like that. And then he was like, yeah, I smoke in front of my kids. Why should I worry about that? What, when I'm high, I'm going to give them more hugs and talk to them more? It's better than being drinking in front of your kids where now you get abusive and stuff like that. It's like, I've never heard of somebody smoking and getting violent because you don't get in that mindset. Whereas when you're drinking, who knows what's going to come out of a certain person's character. So just trying to talk about what you're saying, where people really need to take a moment to look at themselves internally and say, how can I move forward with this? Because sometimes you have a love for something and it's an unhealthy love, and you might as well look at it and be like, it seems like this can't continue, this can't go on. So if you're not gonna get help, because my immediate reaction is when you're having problems like these, because I'm also on QT Cinderella's side on this matter of you can't defend behavior like that. First of all, if it's behavior that's happened repetitively, and then second of all, like you said, there's a line where once you cross that line, it's just like, nah, now you're in that stupid zone. Like there's certain things that's like, nah, you're being silly, let's calm down a bit. Then there's just like, nah, this person's beyond help at this stage. I cannot be getting myself involved with this. So it's like either A, that person should seek professional help, or B, that person cannot, if they are insistent on continuing engaging in that, with that product, then you can't engage it in my environment. Because I find it interesting that you mentioned that, you know, being in res, it gave you a dislike for alcohol. Funnily enough, for me, it actually gave me a respect for alcohol, where it's just like, yeah, you know, there's a line you shouldn't pass and be looking stupid with your consumption. Where it's like, this thing is serious. It's like you're engaging with a poison. So everybody has a different tolerance and everybody has different reactions. So you need to know yourself and be able to say, okay, I'm going to drink until, on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is complete control and 10 blacked out on the sidewalk, passed out. You need to know for yourself of, am I able to go to a 9, to an 8, to a 7, to a 6? Like, where is my upper limit? And then identify that upper limit and say, I'm not passing this zone. Or, having the responsibility of also drinking water, or drink a bit, stop, then go back to drinking. Not, hey, I've started and I'm not going to stop. That's, I think, childish behavior, where it's like, that's what you do when you first start drinking, when you don't know anything. But after a certain amount of years drinking, like, nah, if you're not changing your behavior, then you do have a problem. And if you do have a problem, get help or stop engaging with the thing. I know I'm sounding very, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm sounding very dismissive of stop or get help. That it's not that simple. It's called an addiction for a reason. What I'm trying to say with stop and get help is that, look, if you really enjoy it that much, you need to find a way where you can still enjoy that thing, but it's not destructive.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
Incapable of saying, I want to continue this and I want to do it in a constructive way, then you shouldn't be engaging with that thing. Other people need to come in and to take you away from it, unfortunately. So that's where it's like, you need to have the self-discipline of saying, okay, my behavior is not acceptable. It's not one of those things where you apologize after and then 1 week, 1 month, 1 year down the road, you're doing the exact same thing. It's like, no, my behavior with this thing is unacceptable. How can I find a way where if I'm going to continue engaging with this thing, it's going to be in a way that is not destructive? Because we're not talking about an individual who is in like somebody who's destitute, somebody who's poor, somebody who is homeless and stuff like that. Like, they turn to drugs and different things like that because it's escapism. So maybe it is escapism for her, and maybe she needs to narrow down why exactly she drinks like that, because there's no good reason on earth to be drinking like that.
Exactly. And the thing is, like, even so, right? So Cutie Cinderella even shared the Discord chat between her and JustaMinx, whereby JustaMinx did even pinky swear, saying that she wouldn't drink at the event, right? So then JustaMinx then posted saying a tweet.
To be fair to her, though, she did respect that she didn't drink at the event. She drank at the after party.
So that's the thing, right? Because then JustaMinx said, okay, after Cutie Cinderella had leaked the Discord chat between the two of them on Twitter, then JustaMinx responds in a tweet saying, I assumed getting drunk at the after party would be fine. Clearly it was not. Cutie Cinderella then follows off saying, oh, go F yourself, right? You were drunk before the after party. And I almost had you thrown out of that entire streamer awards because you were yelling and making everyone uncomfortable completely. I've tried everything with you, rehab, everything. I hope this was your rock bottom. Get help. So, hey, dude, like, yeah, no, it's real. And then, again, I won't get too deep into it because I think you guys get the gist of this, but in the podcast description as well as for the video, you guys will be able to see Minx's response to everything, where she's clearly feeling remorse, but she even points out that almost everyone at that event has blocked her. She has not even been able to apologize for it. And again, since Twitch has completely removed her, she's now moved over to Kick to stream there, because obviously the streaming is her full-time career. And she even mentioned that if she fails at it, she has to now move back to Ireland, where she's from. And she said she's even going to consider doing that already, stream from Ireland, while she still gets help and everything else. So who knows? We'll see how this entire thing goes. But I mean, yeah, that's...
But then it goes back to what I was saying of, it could be one of those things of, yeah, you apologize and then tomorrow you're doing the exact same thing.
Exactly.
It's like, no, like, who cares about apologies? The apology needs to be the bare minimum. You need to be able to show action of,
agreed,
I am attempting to remedy the situation. Where it's like, you know, like you get those celebrities who do wrong, and then it's like, or even companies where they do wrong, it's like we acknowledge that we made a mistake and we want to apologize for it. It's like, that's not good enough. Like, what are your steps to remedy what you did? What action are you going to take going forward to ensure that this doesn't happen again? Actions speak louder than words. Like, words are piss easy.
Exactly. So we'll see what happens. Will she change it? Who knows? But yeah, that's the shit right there.
Yeah, no, their whole situation is just a messy situation. I've been loosely following it as well. You know, I saw responses from Saikuno and XQC, things like that. You know, alcohol.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah, so tell me, is that all from your side?
Yeah, that is it, bro.
Okay. I just have one thing on the Twitch news, and that's Twitch itself. So Twitch CEO Emmett Shear announced yesterday that he's stepping down as CEO of Twitch. He wrote a lengthy letter entitled "See You in Chat." Basically, he spoke about how Twitch started as Justin TV. Way back in the day, he was one of the co-founders. It was started off as a project. He didn't expect it. 16 years later, he didn't expect it to be this big. Now owned by Amazon, and all of that stuff. So he said, and I quote, "With my first child just born, I've been reflecting on my future with Twitch. Twitch often feels to me like a child I've been raising as well. And while I will always want to be there if Twitch needs me, at 16 years old, it feels to me Twitch is ready to move out of the house and venture alone. So it is with great poignancy that I share my decision to resign from Twitch as CEO. I want to be fully there for my son as he enters this world, and I feel ready for this change to tackle new challenges, and I will continue to work at Twitch in an advisory role." So a lot of people have, the same, things like, "I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for the opportunity, I'll see you all, I'll also be I'll see you all in chat, blah blah blah," that kind of thing. And people have made jokes, like Moise Critical has made a joke. He's like, look, Emmett Shear is so out of touch with Twitch that sometimes he even wonders if Emmett Shear knew he was CEO of Twitch, because he really spoke about Twitch, he really spoke about things on social media and things like that. And a lot of people will joke like that as well, like, did this guy even know that he was CEO of this company?
I saw other jokes which were like, putting up that Thanos meme of "Who the hell are you?"
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of people, like, with the difference between, a lot of people are comparing this to, yeah, a lot of people are comparing this to Susan, who resigned from YouTube that Tommy covered last month, I believe.
How do people not know Susan, bro?
Yeah, no. A lot of people a lot of people know Susan. So a lot of people are like, unlike the Susan that, Susan was the face, like we knew Susan was talking to creators and everything. People are like, who the hell is Emmett?
Active.
Yeah, people are like, who the hell is Emmett? Like, that kind of thing. So he's stepping down, and in his place is Dan Clancy. Now, Dan Clancy, a lot of people are not, they don't have Twitch streamers, they don't have the best of experiences with, well, not experiences, opinions. They don't have high opinions of Dan Clancy, mainly because Twitch used to be, the revenue split was 70-30, but now, well, I don't know if it's in play, I don't know if it's now, it's been carried out, but it was announced last year, but it was moving to 50-50 in a letter. It was like, letter to streamers were like, no, we're moving to 50-50 and we're increasing ads.
50.
Yeah, last year. They're like, it's
that
50-50.
Is insane. I thought you were going to say something like it's going to 60-40 or something like that. I was like, oh, well,
Yeah, no, 50-50. Dude, it was a whole uproar last year, around September last year. It was a whole uproar. And Dan was the one who wrote this letter. So a lot of people associate Dan with this change. So he he faced the severe backlash of it. So that's why a lot of people are like, damn, it's Dan is CEO now. Man, Twitch is going downhill. But people just have to wait and see what happens. So yeah, that's pretty much it from my side. Anything else Twitch related news? No.
Nah.
Okay. Now, next up is esports news. I don't really have anything esports on my side this week. Tommy?
Oh yeah, so like I said, for me, oh well, you guys, those listed don't know that I said this, but yeah, I'll keep this one short because it's still ongoing. But this is in regards to FaZe Clan, the esports team, as well as organization, throwing disrespect to their veteran creators. So FaZe Teeqo lashes out at disrespectful FaZe Clan owners for neglecting veteran creators, and not to be confused with veteran as in war people, but old school FaZe members, right? So just weeks after FaZe reign, his real surname is hilarious, but shame, no shade on his family. So his real name is Norden Shat. Okay, anyways, went on record to expose the organization of its alleged wrongdoings. Another veteran of the popular group has now joined the ranks, and that is FaZe Teeqo. So Teeqo released a scathing video of his own, which is still up on YouTube. You can go check it out. So he released it on March 12th, criticizing the FaZe Clan and its owners for supposedly failing to show him any support. He said, "How are you going to be leaders and you can't even take care of your members that have been in the team for 12 years?" Teeqo questioned to start the intense tirade. Namely, the content creators that have been part of FaZe Clan for more than a decade took issue with all the fake promises, while the newer FaZe Clan members supposedly got paid more than he ever did, right? So he also went on to mention that someone else came in late last year in 2022, who's not even from the industry, never lifted a finger for FaZe, probably didn't even know what FaZe was before joining, and gets 3 times the amount of shares that he has, and an annual salary that's more money than he's ever been paid by FaZe. So a whole lot of other, so FaZe Rain then responded to that as well, confirming every single thing that Teeqo said, and he obviously felt glad that someone else was also coming to speak up about it. There was another FaZe member whose name I forget, who also came out and said the exact same thing. So right now, as this is still ongoing, FaZe's shares have dropped by about 22% as of this podcast recording. And they're really losing quite a lot of money and respect from communities all around the world. So like I say, this is still ongoing, so we still have not heard back from the creators of FaZe, the owners of FaZe just yet. So we're very much keen to see what happens. We're also keen to see whether or not the new FaZe members are going to speak out on this. But yeah,
they're not going to say anything. If they're new members, they're like, "Hey man, I just got here. I don't have a ground to stand on to be throwing my opinion around. I'm just gonna sit back and watch where this
but
goes."
It's like where you see wrongdoing happening, dude. Like you don't have to know the history around it. Just like, what if something's wrong? It's wrong.
Wait, let me play devil's advocate to this,
sure.
Right? So I don't know the entire scope of the different wrongs that have been happening. Like you say, promises were made that were never met. But let me address one thing which jumped out to me, was the whole thing about you say Teeqo, who's complaining about that he's been there for over a decade.
Years,
and people making more than him who've just come in, where I'm just like, but how do you navigate value? Because isn't that a question of value? Like, let's say, for example, there's us, right?
Yeah.
We start a project together, and then we notice somebody who's an uprising star in content creation, and like, okay, we need to get him to jump in, and his conditions are like, I can see my own value. I'm an up-and-coming star. I'm going to benefit you, so I demand such and such. Whereas you've got a creator who, for all we know, maybe his clout has dwindled, or in that 10-year time span, they've been able to evaluate how much his value is of, this is what he's been bringing us. This other person, their value is going to be significantly different. Because isn't it a question about a person's supposed value, also a question about the contract you hash out with the company and stuff like that, like different things like that. Like, this is besides the point, but it's kind of like with and I know I'm going to trigger a lot of people by touching on this, but hell, why not? The Taylor Swift situation with her contract, where she was upset about how much she's being swindled out, and 100% she was being swindled. But you signed the contract. You need to be able to get a lawyer or somebody, an expert, to look at it and advise you and be like, this is a crappy deal, walk away. Because I know, like, an example, you got 50 Cent, you've got Prince, who've looked at contracts in the past and be like, nah, this ain't good for me. I know what my value is. So when you've got somebody like Taylor Swift who's signing away and then later is complaining about it, it's like, well, you signed yourself away. So with this thing as well, reverting back, it could be an issue of value, an issue of contract, or an issue of maybe they want to go in a different direction and what he's bringing to the table is not really all of that. So him complaining about money, I think that's a very weak point of argument, because there's so many different aspects to consider. But then other areas like promises not met and stuff like that, I can't comment to that. But on the surface, I just feel like it's somebody who feels like he's being given his best cheers and he's not rewarded. But then what your reward or what you deserve, I think that's subjective. You can't objectively say, no, this is what I've done, this is what I deserve. Especially if newer people are coming in and they're getting paid. Like, what if I'm an influencer on TikTok and FaZe have looked at TikTok and say, we need to penetrate this market, and then there's me who's got 10 million followers or 5 million followers on TikTok, more than FaZe has or anybody in FaZe, and then now they approach me and I say, if you're going to be coming to me, I want X amount, and now I'm earning more than you. You can't complain about that. You get what I'm saying?
I get you, but then it's got to add up in the sense that, right? So like I mentioned, in this past week, up until the point of this podcast recording, they've dropped in like 22%. But since March of last year, 2022, their shares have dropped by 95.64%. So it's to say that even the new people they're bringing in are not making money for these guys. On top of that, there's been so much controversy with FaZe since like early days, right? And partly due to their iconic Call of Duty montages that have led to quite a lot of racist comments, you know, from actual FaZe members. Some FaZe members have even been kicked out of the team for misogyny, this and this, because, you know, majority of FaZe is just men, if not all of them are just men. So it's to say that even the young people are the ones actually who cause the most controversy for FaZe. And it's just like, okay, all the higher ups aren't saying anything. The veterans are obviously still just doing what they've been doing for the past 12 years, you know, making the good content that brought FaZe to its most iconic name out there in terms of like the esports organization. But it's just like, at this point, it just keeps falling more and more and more. But yes, that's kind of like what's not even linking to what you're saying, Max, which I fully agree with in that sense. Because it is about what value do the new people bring that would explain why you're not getting paid more than them, right? And I fully agree with that. But it's to say that they're forking out so much money in hopes that these new people are going to bring them up, but they just keep falling more and more.
Yeah,
and
because I was
Teeqo,
also going to say that it also does seem like a management thing for me, where the FaZe higher ups don't seem to know how to steady the ship. It's like, because here's the thing, right? Unless you've expanded to be a global enterprise, like to the extent of your Nike, Adidas, or whatever global companies are there, or Gymshark and stuff like that, you have a window of, hate it or love it, but this is factual. You have a window of popularity, of relevancy, and then that window is going to steadily dwindle and you're going to fall out of relevancy. Like you see, especially if you're unable to manage and navigate your company and future-proof yourself. We see that with Blockbuster. We see that with there was a company name I had in mind, but it's slipping out now. But we see that everywhere with companies where there was a window where they were big. Even not even companies, even games. Like there was the period where we had Angry Bird, which was like the biggest thing, and now the company is struggling to find another hit. Stuff like that, where you have a window where you're on top, where you're a big fucking deal. Excuse my French. In that window, what you do with your relevancy is going to determine your future projection. If you're just expanding, which I feel like that's what FaZe were doing, they were just getting bigger and bigger. They were not really solidifying their what's the word I'm looking for? The platform. They're not really solidifying the pillars, what to keep them upright. They're just broadening it out. It's all going to crumble sooner or later. And I think personally, I always looked at FaZe where I was just like, I'm not going to pay much attention to them because I think in a couple of years' time, they're not going to be relevant anymore. Another thing I can, because it's kind of like things trending. Another thing I like pointing out to is how, like, you see on one moment, PewDiePie is the biggest creator on YouTube. Then the X is Mr. Beast. And Mr. Beast is also going to have his time where somebody else is going to emerge, come up, and overtake it. It's always a question of when, not if. And if you're clever with your period, you're going to be like, I understand I'm not always going to be at this level. So what can I do right now where I still have clout, where I still have relevance, where I still have financial say and maneuverability to ensure my future? I might not be number one in 10 years time, but what can I do that I'm still in the top 10?
Exactly. And just another piece of news, since 2011 when FaZe first started, right, and all the original veterans were part of it, not a single one of them is on the board of directors. But someone who was newly joined to FaZe 2 years ago, Snoop Dogg, is on the board of directors.
Oh yeah.
What does Snoop Dogg know about running an esports organization?
Yeah, I heard people shouting that, like, and then when there was controversy happening and people were pointing out Snoop Dogg's part of a board, people were like, Snoop Dogg doesn't even know what the hell is going on. He's just probably busy getting high, unaware of what's taking place.
Playing the same damn game over and over again, just Madden, and he never comes to any events that FaZe run.
But then that's also, that's also a thing where I just want to point out a poor management of, if I have something and I have loyal employees who've been there for long, give them a steady step to graduate to your level, because they've seen so many different things and they can bring so much value that, yeah, I understand them getting frustrated where it's like, I don't need to be CEO or part of the board, but I do need to see a path for me to be improving my status and other things like that. If there's a path and I don't take the path, or I do take the path, that's different. But at least you provided a path. When there's no path and like 10 years have passed and I'm still in the same place, yes, definitely you should have grievances. Even though it sounds like I'm contradicting myself, but I'm like, you can have grievances, but then what your grievances are about is the issue here. Like what we was talking about, value.
Yep.
So maybe these guys need to be like, I've done this much. I've brought this much. I see I'm not valued. I thought I was valued, but clearly I'm not. I think it's time for me to step out and move on. I'm pretty sure they probably have contracts. So if their contract is running out, they should not renew it. Or it should be one of those things where they can look at how they can break their contract amicably.
Yeah, well, FaZe Rain did mention that he's going to eventually lean towards lawsuits. So let's see how that's going to go. Who knows? They might all team up together. But yeah, that's it for my esports.
All right, see. Yeah. It's just drama everywhere.
Yes, it is. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't have anything esports. Anyway, so moving on to the discussion period. Anybody have anything to discuss?
Nothing to discuss, but 2 hours ago from recording this podcast, Lance Reddick has passed away at the age of 60.
No!
It was just announced 2 hours ago. For those of you who don't know, he is the main Titan's voice in Destiny. If you've played Destiny, he is also the concierge at that hotel that they stay in, John Wick. And just before John Wick 4 comes out, so Yeah, may he rest in peace. He just had that iconic voice, you know, you could always just tell it was him. So nothing to discuss. Just wanted to announce that. Yeah.
Do you know what was wrong?
I only just see the tweets, but I'll look into what it was while you guys discuss your points.
All right. So I wanted to talk about live services and not Game Pass, battle passes. So I've been seeing a lot of videos on YouTube talking about how battle passes are dead. And we've been seeing of lately a lot of live service games shutting down. So I wanted to raise it to you guys and get your interpretation of the situation, as you play a lot more online games than I do, and what your stances are on this. Battle passes and live service things are dead. So first, you guys can correct me if my definition and understanding are wrong, but I want to highlight the difference between a live service game and a battle pass. Live service is brutally simplifying all of these things. Live service is just you're playing an online game which is updated and maintained regularly, and if the developers were to stop updating it, the game could potentially be dead, and if they pulled it from the servers, you can't access the game anymore. Whereas battle passes is simply seasonal, depending on what their definition of season is, seasonal updates to a game where you can purchase, make monetary purchase, or sometimes even get things for free or grind for those things where they're adding to the game, but they're basically things which are coming in to add to the gameplay, not updates and fixes, but skins, weapons, characters, but things that affect the actual gameplay. Am I wrong with my definitions, or am I more or less in the ballpark, guys?
No, you're correct.
So with that stated, I'm of the opinion, because people are saying these are dead and we're going to a new age. I don't think they're dead. I just think what's going on is people have gotten tired with the current setup of how these things are run, and these developers need to find a new way of providing these services without upsetting fans or getting fans to be bored after a certain length of time. Like a good example is Multiverses, how that game is dwindling in player count and stuff like that. And this is a conversation Kojo and myself have had of, we find the Multiverses updates, the seasonal updates, are hella boring. Like there's nothing interesting about them. Yeah, they bring in a fighter now and then they bring in skins and stuff like that, but it's so boring where it's like, dude, give us new stages, do something which revamps the play. Like, I'm still doing the same thing I was doing when the game first went out to the public, and that's so flipping boring. Like, switch up the gameplay. Like, whenever a new update is coming out, make people be like, oh, I wonder how this is going to impact how I play and relate to this game. That type of stuff. And that's why, in my opinion, I don't think they're dead. I just think they have to find a new way of evolving, and I believe that they will, because there's too much money to be made in live service games for these greedy companies to give up and be like, yeah, this model's not working anymore, let's find something new. No, FIFA, it's working perfectly fine. Call of Duty is working perfectly fine. There are even mobile games where it's working perfectly fine. So I think people are just razor focusing on the failures and not focusing on the successes. And the successes are what's going to drive these other companies be like, nah. Let's not give up on this yet. So I bring it to you guys' table.
Yeah, so I agree with that. They're not going to go away because, look, I'm even a culprit, right? To a point where right now, Rainbow Six Siege just got into its new season, right? And the skins that they've brought out on the Battle Pass, especially like the elite skins, has really just brought me back. Now, granted, I may not actually pay for any of those skins out of pocket. I may not even contribute to the Battle Pass, but it's just to see the content that they bring and how it changes everything. And I'm not even gonna lie, sometimes it's coerced me to consider buying something. Or sometimes if the battle pass has like a reward system for just gameplay, for example, in Fortnite, if you play just enough of it, you can buy the battle pass having not even spent a cent because of all the free V-Bucks you can get, right? Some other games have the exact same type of mechanism. So it's to say that it still kind of brings me back to try and play it, but then after the battle pass has ended, or I actually see that I can't get much from the battle pass, I'll never be able to reach a tier, a certain tier page or ranking in the battle pass, then I uninstall the game. But I will most probably come back if the battle pass gets something very nice in it. For example, PUBG, in its battle pass you get K-pop dancers, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna play PUBG for a bit, see if I can farm up anything for free and try get at least just one emote. Siege, I re-downloaded it 2 days ago. I got a nice Twitch Prime skin, that was pretty sexy, but I see on the battle pass now there's anime collaborated skins for the different operators you can use, and it's just like, okay, payday is next week. How much is it gonna cost? Because this is just something I cannot pass out on, because especially when they reel you in on the whole thing of like, oh, get it only this season and never again, and I'm like, flip, you bastards, like, what you're doing.
I like how you say that. You mentioned Fortnite, where Fortnite lets you grind, and it's something I've been talking to Kojo's ear off about, where my complaint with a lot of these live service games is that they are so overly focused on the microtransactions of how can we get these guys to spend money? How can we get these guys to spend money? When I'm like, dude, making a live service game is not, or designing one is not that hard. Like, you should target 3 types of players. Like, let's say, for example, right, on a game, give a few things for free, completely free, nothing attached for some players. That way, every new seasonal battle pass, you're gonna get people coming back to say, hey, what new free shit am I going to get? Then put another bunch of stuff where you have to grind to get this stuff. So that way, the people who are invested in the game can at least say, hey, there's something I can go for. Like, when you're playing other people, especially in shooters where somebody's got an armor or something like that, where you can see, oh, they put time in this game, stuff like that. Then the third type is things which can be purchased. Like, do 3 different types of things you can acquire, where some stuff you have to purchase, some stuff you have to grind, and some stuff you just get for free. Like, how hard is it to do that? But no, what people usually do, what developers usually do is all of this, 70% of the stuff, you have to purchase it. And maybe 30% we might give you for free, or there'll be nothing for free. Like, if I go back to multiverses, it's completely split into grind and purchase. And on the grind part is you can circumnavigate the grind if you just purchase. So it's like purchase or grind, where it's just like, that's boring. Like, don't even give people the option to say, F the grind, let me just purchase this. Just have some stuff for free. Like, let's say you've got a character, right? Each character should come up with 1 skin free, another skin you have to grind until level whatever, and a third one you can purchase it right then and there. That way players can be like, oh, okay, you spent money. Oh, okay, you work for that skin. Oh, okay, you've got the default skin. Everybody has that type of shit. But I do understand that developing these things does take time, and that would probably be the only wall against my idea. But designing a live service game is honestly the easiest part of a live service game. Having it function is probably the hardest part, but designing, these companies have no excuse for how greedy and incompetent they are. So whenever live service games fail, I take delight in that, because these guys are being greedy and silly. If you look at the live service games, which I actually consider it they're not what's the word I'm looking for? Like, when you're trying to take advantage of people, like deliberately and very openly take advantage of people. The ones which aren't designed like that are doing well for themselves. Whereas the ones where your options are limited, it's like spend, they seem to fall off after a while, because nobody just wants to spend money. Like, yeah, you talk about that dopamine hit effect, but there are different ways to get that.
But yeah, dog, it's yeah. We fall victim to it, but I mean, we'll see.
Kojo, do you have any take on the live service battle pass?
I think nowadays it's harder for brand new games, live service games to stick. I think if you see a brand new game, chances are it's not gonna last. Ubisoft's Hyperscape, Rumbleverse, what's it called? Rumbleverse? Even Apex with Apex Legends Mobile that they shut down for whatever reason. You know, these brand new games, even EA's Knockout City, the dodgeball one. You know, it's hard for big games to come out these days because I feel like the games that are already, the live service games are already established. Like, you know, like let me stick with battle royales. You have your big four. You have your Apex, your Warzone, your PUBG, your Fortnite. I feel like nowadays, if you want to crack into and there are other, you know, areas where live service games, like different genres where they are already, the hierarchy has already been established. So if you want to break into that, you need to have this X factor, or else you're just not going to last.
No, that's fair. And I also do think you need to be a large company with like financial backing. You can't come in there with saying we're going to put minimal money into this and hope we get big bucks out of this. Kind of like how Gotham Knights tried to do, or whatever live service game was recent, which just fell apart. Also, with
Gotham Knights wasn't live service.
But how would you describe it then? Oh wait, yeah, no, you're right. They tore that down because people were suspecting that it was going in that direction, and then they stopped mid-production with that direction, saying, "Nah, this isn't gonna cut it." You are completely right. My bad. That's a bad example for me. But there was also other games I wanted to use as an example. I can't remember what they are for the life of me right now. But I do believe we've got an issue of companies trying to spend as little money as possible going in and hoping to maximize profits coming out.
Yeah.
So, yes, I was going to say, we're going to see how things work with Redfall. There's another game, which is Redfall, Kill the Justice League, and Factions. We'll see how those perform. Amongst them, I personally feel Factions is the most hyped, but Sony could potentially fuck it up, excuse my French, depending on how they decide to monetize it. Because let's be honest, I personally think Sony will try and monetize it because they've been trying to break into microtransactions for the longest time, looking at how other companies have been benefiting from it. Sony wants a piece of that cake.
Yeah.
So for me, if Faction is going to fail, it's Sony effing up the monetization. Whereas Redfall and Kill the Justice League, I think is how I think people's taste for it has fallen off because of it being a live service. Whereas Redfall, I think the online always part is what has killed people's enthusiasm.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Yeah. Okay. Any other discussion points?
Nah.
Okay. Next up is
quick question. Tell me, you get to find out how what was wrong?
Yes. So he passed away due to natural it was a natural death, and his family hasn't released anything yet, as it's still, private, and just needing some time to grieve. So that's all.
Natural death at the age of 60.
I don't know, man. I don't know what it could have been. Maybe just an illness or something, but nothing. I don't think it was probably a terminal illness. I don't know. We'll see.
Well,
Like
you
it's
don't
good.
think it's one of those things of he had something wrong, but he kept it private, and after he's passed away, they go to the family will reveal that he was combating this disease all this time.
Yeah, you see exactly like that. Yeah, because when they said like, what did they say with Chadwick Boseman? He passed away peacefully in his sleep until they mentioned, yeah, but he's been battling cancer all these years. It's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
could be that. We'll see.
There was also that other lady who passed away with cancer as well, where she had been battling it, but she kept it private. The one from The Last of Us.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on to the news blitz. Maxwell, what's up?
All right. So with the news blitz, we just have a few things to run off. First of all, is rumors of a PS5 Pro are surfacing, where supposedly it will release in late 2024. On my side, I'm hoping this isn't true because I hate all of these Pro stuff and I don't think we need Pro. And people have been making the argument that, dog, we're still making games for the last generation. How are we already talking about a PS5 Pro? So fingers crossed that that turns out to be untrue. Then the other thing of the news blitz is in 5 weeks, Hogwarts Legacy has surpassed Elden Ring's lifetime sales in the UK. Now, if you ask me, there's no surprise there considering the fact that Harry Potter is a British IP. So it was Harry Potter's shit famous and it's in the UK, it was always going to surpass Elden Ring. The mere fact that Elden Ring has such a good record is, I think that's more praiseworthy than Hogwarts Legacy surpassing Elden Ring. And that is all for the news blitz. It was a pretty quiet week this week.
All right, Tommy, anything news blitzy?
Nah, all good from my side, bro.
Okay then. Well, looks like that is it for the show. Thank you all for joining us. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow for more. Whichever is applicable to your preferred platform, we make sure we're everywhere. Otherwise, if you have any comments, suggestions, or just want to say hi, you can do so in the comment section. That's all for this week. We'll catch you again in next week. Be good, stay healthy, and join us again for more gaming tidbits. Peace.
Cheers, homies.